Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Cobbs Corner. I'm your host, Morgan Cobbs. In this episode, we'll be doing something a little bit different, hence the title of this episode. I've been working on the Infinity Saga rewatch series, and there will be a new episode this Friday at 10 a.m. as usual. It will be my review of Avengers Age of Ultron. However, as most Marvel fans know, the movie Thor Love and Thunder has recently come out. It came out last Friday, July 8th, and I saw it opening night. I realized that I have not yet reviewed any recent films, and all the films that I reviewed have been past MCU films, so today I'll be doing a sort of a spoiler-free review for Thor Love and Thunder. These are just my initial thoughts and my takeaways from the movie. If you haven't seen the movie yet, do not worry. As I mentioned, this review does not contain any spoilers. Although I do highly recommend that you all go and see this movie yourself, along with every movie that I have reviewed so far and that I will review, like general rule of thumb, I highly recommend that you guys check these movies out yourself. This is just my opinion, but no spoilers. I promise. So, stay tuned. So Thor Love and Thunder is a fun, romantic comedy, space opera adventure. We got Taika Waititi returning as the director, with even more laughs than Thor Ragnarok, and more character development for each of our characters. The film sees the return of Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, as well as Taika Waititi himself as Korg. We see the return of Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, who's now king of New Asgard. And for those of you who watch the trailers for this movie, you know that Jane Foster becomes worthy of Mjolnir and takes on the mantle of Thor. This film helps us to appreciate Thor's journey in the MCU thus far by giving us a synopsis of his journey from 2011's Thor all the way up through and including 2019's Avengers Endgame, which was the last time that we saw Thor. You can see how Thor and Jane had a relationship following Thor the Dark World, but they slowly grew apart as Jane continued her work as an astrophysicist, and Thor had to save the world a few times. It was a great reunion for the two of them to see each other again after they're 6 years apart. And if you remember in Thor Ragnarok, there's those two civilians who take the picture with Thor, and one of the girls says like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that Jane dumped you," and so we actually get a window into that sort of relationship that the two of them did have between Thor 2 and between Thor's 2 and 3, which is about a 4-year gap. So while Thor Ragnarok introduced us to Sakaar and the Grandmaster, while killing off the Warriors 3, Odin, and flat out destroying Asgard, which was the only really cool off-world planet, well, off-world realm, it wasn't even really a planet, it was just kind of like a place that existed off-world, just flat out destroying that. Thor Love and Thunder instead introduces us to new planets and locations in the universe, along with new characters who live throughout the whole movie, who were introduced in the beginning or in the middle, and they survive throughout the whole movie. Christian Bale, I think, did a phenomenal job as the villain in this movie, Gorr The God Butcher. I think he kind of drew upon his roles of, he played Batman in the Dark Knight trilogy. I still think he's the very best Batman actor. And I guess going back to American Psycho, me personally, I think that Disney, after 30 years, they finally got Christian Bale back. The last time he worked with Disney was 1992 in the movie Newsies, which you could probably find on Disney+. Christian Bale really stole the show, and it was fun how we don't see Gorr The God Butcher a whole lot in the film. He doesn't get a whole lot of screen time, making him an even more menacing and mysterious villain. It's kind of similar to how like Heath Ledger really stole the show in The Dark Knight as the Joker in that film. I still think Heath Ledger's the best Joker uh, in The Dark Knight as the Joker in the film in which Christian Bale starred as the hero, Batman. Gorr is definitely in my top 5 MCU villains as of now. He's right up there alongside Thanos, Killmonger, and Zemo. All of these villains have justifiable motives. That's all I'm going to say about that. At times, the humor did feel a little bit over the top in a sense that the audience, we weren't expecting them to go as far as they did with the jokes. And like the tone of the movie does tend to kind of shift from laughing to shock to sadness. And a lot of times we don't get to fully experience the gravity of these different scenes and the gravity of the characters and their emotions. So I feel like it was a lot of like fast-paced like tone shifts. We didn't get to just kind of chill and just explore like the gravity of the emotions and of the challenges that these characters are going towards. So this is probably due to Taika Waititi's background with improv and his improvisational style of directing. A lot of the scenes in Thor Ragnarok were improvised, and Thor Love and Thunder probably contained a lot of improvisation as well. So it's just a classic case of too much of a good thing, I think. Like Thor Ragnarok, the soundtrack to Thor Love and Thunder is just awesome, and it really just sets the tone for each scene. It's like each song is a part of the scene. Two throwback jams. I got Guns N' Roses' Welcome to the Jungle and Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine. The scenes in which they're strategically placed makes the songs feel as if they were a part of the scene, similar to how the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, those songs are strategically placed throughout those films, making each song feel alive in that particular scene. We actually get an appearance from the Guardians of the Galaxy in this film. As I said before, this film was a fun Thor adventure. Thor is the first MCU superhero to get a 4th solo film. The film further expanded not only the MCU at large, but also the characters of Thor, Valkyrie, Korg, and even Jane Foster. I think that of the Phase 4 movies that have come out so far, namely Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and now Thor Love and Thunder, it's crazy to think that they have already released 6 films in Phase 4 in a matter of like 2 years. This film definitely leaves us at the edge of our seats, waiting for either the next Thor adventure or the next Thor appearance. At the very least, you'll have fun watching this movie, and I think it is an overall good film. I won't say that it's great. I won't even say it's the best film in Phase 4 so far, but you will be able to enjoy a good, solid story with some laughs, some cries, and even some really great visual effects. Overall, I give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. I think that it's a solid B-tier MCU film. I think, Thor Ragnarok is, A tier. Thor Ragnarok is, in my opinion, the best film in the Thor franchise of the 4 Thor movies we've gotten. So far we've got Thor, Thor the Dark World, Thor Ragnarok, and Thor Love and Thunder. I think Thor Ragnarok is definitely the best. Thor Love and Thunder, second best. That's all I got to say about Thor Love and Thunder. I can't wait to hear from you guys with your thoughts on these films.